Welcome back. Now, the country is observing Youth Month amid rising levels of youth unemployment. According to the latest job statistics, almost 250,000 young people lost their jobs in the first 3 months of this year, meaning that nearly 5 million youth were unemployed during the same period. At the same time, other statistics show that young people would rather quit their jobs than work in unhealthy environments. So the question this Youth Month is, how can businesses get it right in reshaping the future? To discuss this, we are now joined by the Head of Careers and Employee Experience at Investec, Nicola Tager. Thank you so much for your time, Nicola. We do appreciate it. I mean, it's alarming to see how many young people are unemployed, but it's even more alarming to hear that young people are saying, I would rather be unemployed than be working in a toxic and unhealthy environment. Just tell us more.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting generation that's coming into the workplace. People speak about the future world of work. I'm not so sure it's so far in the future. I think it's right here with us, to be quite honest. So the youth want something different out of organizations and out of careers. They're wanting an organization that is a purposeful one, a purpose-led organization, one that would align with their own personal purposes and their own personal principles. If an organization doesn't stand for what they stand for, unfortunately, they'll make a choice to leave. So organizations really have to think beyond just profit now. Got to think about purpose, about planet, and about creating this environment where youngsters are going to come in and engage and want to perform. So we need to be thinking very differently about organizations in their form, in their traditional form. They won't be in the traditional form as we know them. You know, if you think about the way that COVID changed the world of work, we know that that's some of the change that will continue in the future world of work. So, you know, even the way that we employ people will be different. We'll see blended workforces coming into play where people are global citizens. They can live anywhere but still work for you. People won't always want this permanent type of career and a career path, you know, when they retire with you at 60 and get the watch. They'll come in for gigs. They'll come in for stints. They'll join your organization to learn a new skill versus build out this long-term career. So there are many changes that we're going to have to adapt to in order to attract and retain the right talent in the future.
Yeah, and I think that begs the next question, Nicola, in terms of if workplaces and employers are actually open to changing how things are done and how workplaces operate. Because, you know, it's more about seeing people as a valuable asset rather than just another number who must work long hours, be in an unhealthy environment, and essentially that impacts on productivity and creativity if you are in that space. Are you finding that workplaces are open to changing the way things are done to accommodate the youth saying, I would rather not offer you my skills because I don't want to be in this environment?
100%. Organizations are going to have to see it. It's a very honest generation that we're seeing. So they're going to tell it as it is. And I don't even think it's about seeing people as an asset. I think organizations are going to have to see people as human beings. Human beings with emotions, human beings with stresses in life, human beings with different contexts and different upbringings. So if we get this right, the beauty is the diversity that we will bring into organizations. We will bring in far more of a female generation coming into the workplace, taking up formal and long careers with us. And we'll see this youth attracted to a workplace that would look very different. But things that were maybe secondary to us are going to have to become strategic priorities, such as well-being. You know, well-being is not a new term, but organizations didn't necessarily prioritize it in the way that they're going to have to now. So you're going to have to see me as a human being with all of, you know, my good, my bad, the things that I'm struggling with, and you're going to have to support me in order to get me to perform. So companies' employee value propositions are going to become far more important, and we're going to have to start communicating what they are in order for the youth to make the decision as to which organization is going to be right for them and align with those principles that we touched on before.
But how do we also find that balance? I mean, you touched on something very important there about women also coming into the workplace, because often women fear starting a family and falling pregnant because of how they are treated when they fall pregnant. I mean, oftentimes in interviews, women are asked, are you planning to have a baby anytime soon, or are you pregnant at the moment? Because that now affects the flow of work, if that's the right term to use. And that also discourages a lot of people from moving into certain workspaces, because at the end of the day, women are childbearing, we can't change that. So how do we strike a balance in terms of that, in terms of making sure that the current workforce and workplaces understand the complexities? And as you rightfully say, we are human beings. We are going to have, traumas in our life. We are going to have issues coming up. And we are also going to, at one point as women, have babies.
So I think luckily the pandemic taught us flexibility, and organizations know that we can work differently and we can still perform and we can still add value. So I think that concept of increased flexibility is going to be hugely important to hold as a very key principle. And when you think about flexibility, it's not just in terms of work hours. It is about where I can do my work from and when I choose to do it to suit the organization and my own personal lifestyle. But I think it's also flexibility in the way that people are going to want to learn, the way that people are going to want to grow. It's not necessarily that corporate ladder, that old traditional corporate ladder, that's going to make people want to outperform and want to stay with you. And to your point, I think we're going to have to relook a lot of the policies that have been written into organizations for years. We're going to have to think broader than maternity leave and paternity leave, because maybe the roles are going to have to become more flexible than they have been, in the past. And by that, I mean about caregivers. Maybe it's about caregiver leave versus a male role or a female role in the way that we bring up our children. So I think things are going to drastically change based on the requirements of what people are going to want from us.
Very insightful conversation. And you're right, if COVID-19 taught us anything, is that you can literally work from anywhere. I remember doing live crossings at home in a formal t-shirt and my pajamas at the bottom. So we can literally get it done anywhere. Thank you so much for your insights this evening. We do appreciate it. That was the head of careers and employee experience at Investec, Nicola Tager.